The Intellectual King. Long time ago there was a country where the people would change their king every year. The person who would become the king had to agree to a contract that he would be sent to an island after completion of his 1 year of being the king. One king finished his term, and it was time for him to go to the island and live there forever. The people used to make him dressed up in expensive clothes, and ride him on an elephant, and took him around the cities to say goodbye to all the people in his kingdom. This was the moment of sadness for all the kings who ruled for 1 year. After saying farewell, the people took the king on a boat to a remote island, and would leave him there forever. On their way back, they discovered a ship that had just sunk recently. They saw a young man, who survived by holding on to a floating piece of wood. As they needed a new king, they picked up the young man and took him to their country. They requested him to be a king for a year. First, he refused, but later then he agreed to be a king. People told him about all the rules and regulations and that how he will be sent to an isolated island after 1 year. After 3 days of being a king, he asked the ministers if they could show him the isolated island where all the other kings were sent. They agreed and took him to the island. The island was covered with thick jungles and sounds of vicious animals were heard coming through the forest. The king went a little bit deep inside the dense forest to check. Soon he discovered the dead bodies of all the past kings. He understood that as soon as they would left previous king on the island, the animals would come and feast on them. The king went back to the country and collected 100 strong workers. He took them to the isolated island and instructed them to clean the jungle, remove all the deadly wild animals and cut down all excess trees. He would visit the island every month to see how the work was progressing. In the first month, all the wild animals were removed and many trees were cut down. In the second month, the whole island was cleaned out. The king then told the workers to plant gardens in various parts of the island. He also took with himself useful domestic animals like chickens, ducks, birds, goats, cows, etc. In the third month, he ordered the workers to build big houses and docking stations for ships. Over the months, the island turned into a beautiful place. The young king would wear simple clothes and spend very little from his earnings as a king. He sent all the earnings to the island for storage. When 9 months passed on renovating the island, the king called the ministers and told them, "I know that I have to go to the island after 1 year, but I would like to go there right now." But the ministers didn't agree to this and said that his time is not finished as the ruler. He has to wait for another 3 months to complete the year. 3 months passed and now it was a whole year. The people dressed up the young king and put him on an elephant to take him around the country to say goodbye to others. However, this young king is unusually happy to leave the kingdom. People asked him, all the other kings would cry at this moment, and why are you laughing and delightfully happy to leave? He replied, "Don't you know what the wise people say? They say that, when you came to this world as a baby, you were crying and everyone was smiling. You must live such a life that, when you die, you will be smiling and everyone around you will be crying. And I have lived that life. While all the other kings were lost in the luxuries and beauty of the kingdom, I always thought about the future and planned for it. I turned the deadly island into a beautiful abode for me, where I can stay peacefully the rest of my life. I have learned a lesson from the previous kings is about how we should live our lives. The life on this world is temporary and time-bound, just a passage to prepare yourself to live your life hereafter. In this life, we shouldn't be so engrossed, and get lost into the deceiving and attractive things of this world, and forget and ignore about what is to come in the life hereafter. Instead, prepare, and be prepared, for the life after you would leave this world, like this futuristic intellectual king had planned for himself. If you like the story, please do like, share and subscribe. Thank you for listening.